Samantha had always enjoyed the solitude of her small apartment, tucked away on the 6th floor of an aging apartment building. It was quiet, with the occasional hum of distant traffic and the faint creak of old wood. She worked remotely, spent her evenings with books and red wine, and had no real reason to leave the apartment unless it was necessary. But lately she had a feeling that something wasn't right. It started with the subtle feeling of being watched. That strange feeling that tingles the back of your neck, as if someone is standing right in front of you. At first she blamed it on late nights and too many thriller novels. But soon little things in her apartment began to change. Her toothbrush moved a few centimeters. The window she had closed was open in the morning. She started locking her bedroom door at night, just in case. But deep down she knew that the locks couldn't stop what was already inside her. One night, around 3 a.m., Samantha woke up when she heard a soft knock. Not at her door, but inside the walls. It was rhythmic, faint, a gentle knocking from the other side of her bedroom. She pressed her ear to the cold plaster and held her breath. Knocking, knocking, knocking. It didn't sound like pipes. It didn't sound mechanical. It sounded deliberate, human, heart-pounding. She slowly withdrew and left the light on for the rest of the night. The next day she spoke to her neighbor across the street, Mrs. Elliott, an elderly woman who had lived in the building for over 40 years. "No one lives in the apartment next to you," she said matter-of-factly. "It's been empty since last winter. They never found the last tenant." Samantha laughed nervously, but inside her panic blossomed like frost on glass. Later that evening, Samantha received a text message from an unknown number. "You looked beautiful in blue last night." Her blood ran cold. She had been wearing a blue sweatshirt. Her curtains had been drawn, or at least she thought so. She checked her windows. Locked, blinds, closed. But as she ran her fingers over the edge, she noticed something terrible. Tiny holes, no bigger than the tip of a pencil, evenly distributed across the fabric. She pulled down the blinds and stared out into the darkness. On the other side of the alley was the neighboring building. A few windows were lit, most were dark, but one stood out, a single window opposite hers, pitch black, but with the outline of a person standing just behind the glass. He did not move, he just watched. Samantha called the police. They searched the adjacent building, checked the supposedly empty apartment, and assured her there was nothing there. No one was watching, no record of anyone living next door. But that night, there was another knock. Louder, closer, almost angrily. And this time it wasn't just coming from the wall. It was coming from the floor under her bed. She jumped up, switched on the light, and started recording on her phone. Her camera recorded the sound, crystal clear. But when she looked at the footage, there was something else. A face, only for a fraction of a second. Pale, hollow-eyed. It stared at her from the shadows under the bed. She ran away. She didn't even grab her keys. She just ran out of the apartment barefoot, heart pounding, screaming into the stairwell. At the police station, Samantha begged them to let her stay the night. She couldn't go back. Not yet. Maybe never. An officer escorted her home to pick up her things the next day. But when they entered her apartment, it was spotless. No sign of forced entry. No sign of anything unusual. Not even the slits in the blinds. As if the apartment had been redecorated. Cleaned. Erased. "You're safe," they told her. "You must have just had a nightmare." But Samantha knew better. Hours later, in a motel room she'd borrowed for the night, her phone beeped again. A new message. No words this time, just a photo. A photo of her sleeping, taken from her apartment. Samantha froze, her gaze fixed on the photo in front of her. It was as if her throat was constricting and her own limbs became heavy and numb. The picture was new, her in bed, the motel room in the background. He had taken it as video porn just minutes before. This man, whoever he was, had not been left in the apartment. He had followed her. She sat bolt upright and looked around the dimly lit motel room, then at the window, but nothing. The door, still locked. But when she looked towards the bathroom, the door was ajar, and she knew she had closed it. Stunned, she stood up and walked closer, step by step. Her heart was pounding so loudly that she couldn't think straight. With a trembling hand, she pushed the door wide open and found nothing. Empty. But scrawled in the misty mirror, barely visible through the light, were 5 words that took her breath away. "You can't hide from me. She had snuck out of the house before dawn, hopped on the first train out of town, and ridden to her childhood roots 2 states away. Her mother had died years ago, and the house had remained unoccupied, but safe, familiar. No one else knew about it. She turned off her phone, spoke to no one, and spent the next week telling herself it was over. No messages, no knocks, no shadows, just silence. But the fear never really went away. Every creak in the house, every rustle of the wind, it all felt like a warning. And on the 7th night there was another knock. This time not on the walls, not on the floor, but in the attic. 3 gentle and deliberate knocks above her head. Stiff as a board, she kept her gaze fixed on the ceiling and realized that maybe he never did. He always knew what she was up to. Samantha grabbed a flashlight and a kitchen knife and crawled into the attic. It stank of dust and rot. Her flashlight shone over old furniture and forgotten boxes, but nothing else. And then she noticed it. A rectangle of floorboards that was only slightly askew. Yes. She knelt down, pushed them apart with her own hands, and found a narrow opening between them that a person could just about crawl through. And inside, bedding, empty food packaging, a telephone, her phone, the phone she had lost a month earlier and thought had been stolen. The recording was still running. Her fingers trembled as she double-clicked on the last video. The screen filled with a close-up of her face, sleeping peacefully, taken from the centimeters between her and the camera. In the video, a hand reached out and tenderly stroked her hair. She cried out and dropped the phone in shock. He was sleeping on top of her. He watched her. He waited. She didn't wait a second longer. She rushed down the stairs, ready to flee barefoot into the woods. But when she opened the front door, there he was, emaciated, ashen, his eyes hollow and black, his mouth twisted into a smile not meant for mortals. She didn't even make a sound before he struck. The next thing she knew, she was waking up in a hospital bed. Her wrists were bandaged. The light was harsh. One of the nurses said she had been found in the woods, alone, barefoot and babbling nonsense about a man with no name. No assailant was found, no fingerprints, no evidence. They chalked it up to trauma, paranoia, maybe a nervous breakdown. But Samantha knew the truth. She knew he was real. She could still feel him with his fingers on the back of her neck. And there's a night when it's quiet, when she whispers it again. The knocking, always 3 times. The months passed. Samantha never came back to the city, never set foot in her old number again. She even changed her name, moved across the country, and did her best to build a new life in the ruins he had left behind. But the shadows always followed her, a reflection that stayed in the mirror a moment too long, a murmur through ventilation shafts that weren't supposed to make a sound. She installed cameras, alarm systems, and even hired a private security service. But none of this mattered, because it was clear to her once and for all, he didn't need walls, doors, or even a body. He was obsession incarnate. They were born a silent, isolated predator, and once he chose someone, he was never completely alone again. The last entry in Samantha's diary, the last time she was heard from, the last time she was seen, was simple. He doesn't want to kill me. He wants to watch me disintegrate piece by piece, and now, he's watching you too.